Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Around the Leagues podcast. We're a little late to you this week. We usually go on Mondays. Had to push it back a little bit this week, but we'll get this out to you as quick as we can. Um, we're gonna still recap the UFC fights from this past weekend, as we promised, and then a lot of today is just gonna be college basketball. We've got college tournaments. Some are starting, some just wrapped up in the last couple of days. So we'll get to that. And I should warn you guys, I got a package getting delivered here shortly, so if my dogs start barking and you hear it, I apologize. I can't do anything about that. But yeah. So Keanan, how you doing today? I know we had to push it back a little bit, but it ain't no thing.
If any of you guys have a problem at me on Twitter at Keanan Alstatt. It's my fault. Work schedule, you gotta work around it. So We're coming to you, but better late than never, right?
Yeah, and we couldn't do it last night because I was busy, unfortunately. So here we are. We're here on a Wednesday. It's trying something new, but who knows? Maybe we'll do more than one a week in the future, so we can test out a couple of schedules and see what happens. Yeah. I mean, it's. Oh, and then this weekend, I don't know if you've made your mind up yet, but we got a big weekend coming up.
We do.
Are you going to be there?
We'll see. We'll see how that sweet narcotic pain medication treats me.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll look forward to it. Hopefully, I see you there. If not, maybe another time.
Just in case, I'm having my wisdom teeth extracted this weekend, so I'm not hitting that Pepsi can this weekend. It's prescribed, so or hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, you should be good.
I was about to say, I hope they give me more than ibuprofen. That would be.
But all right. Before I guess we get to that, so we got UFC fight last week.
Yep.
On Saturday night.
Saturday night. Yep.
I watched a little bit. I didn't see much of the prelims. I did see here and there of the women's fight, and then I caught the Adesanya. So what? I don't know. What all did you see from Saturday night?
So my schedule didn't allow me. I had to work. I had to work early Sunday morning, and so I wasn't able to stay up and catch the fights, which I was a little disappointed with. So the two fights that I made a point to go back and watch were the two title fights, as we predicted last week on the show. The co-main event, Zhang Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, maybe the greatest women's fight of all time. It was a fantastic, just 5-round, it was a masterclass. It was a masterclass of violence, striking technique. It was just fantastic. My fucking eyes are watering. Jesus Christ. God damn it.
We're live, guys. This is what you guys get.
Yeah. Oh, God damn it. My apologies. Shit, this is going to be a bad show if this is the case. So, no, it was a masterclass. I thought going into it, Joanna had the advantage. I thought she was coming off of big wins off of Michelle Waterson, late last year. Granted, since she lost the title in November 2017, she had lost two previous title fights. She lost a rematch to Rose, lost it on the cards, 49-46 her out, and then she lost another decision to Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight title. But I thought she had this one going into the fight. She said it was going to be the greatest fight ever in women's MMA history, and that's what ended up being the case. Round one, they both come out. They both high action, high octane. Decided they were not trying to go to the cards. Zhang was throwing heavy power shots, and Joanna, she just has incredible technique. I mean, she was going high, low, hitting the kicks, body punches, body kicks. And I thought it was a great first round. I had Joanna winning round one. Second round, they both made a couple adjustments. Zhang, she switched it up. She was being more tactical. She was landing harder punches. She was controlling the octagon a little bit more. I thought she was controlling the pace of the action a little bit more, and she was matching the technique of Joanna. I had it 19-19 after two. Round three, I thought this was Joanna's best round. I thought Joanna, her technique in this round is absolutely masterclass. You could see the swelling on both the top and the bottom of the right eye, starting to shut the right eye. Zhang, she had to be carried back to the corner after round 2. She got stunned with a left high kick at the end of Jesus Christ, at the end of round 2. And Zhang, she give her credit, she was hanging in there, and it looked like she was getting gassed around 3. It looked like she was breathing a little bit heavier. She was kind of on the run a little bit more. And Joanna, she took advantage of that. I had it 29-28 after 3 championship rounds. 4th round is where the fight was decided. I think all 5 rounds were close. All 5 rounds were high octane, high energy, just incredible pacing throughout. But I thought this was the closest round. I thought that Joanna, she made a case in the early parts of the rounds that she had won the round, but Zhang, she kind of, as the round went on, I am telling you what, my eyes, I have no idea what is going on, but it is that season, folks. Zhang, she came out and she won the last 2 minutes. It really depends on what you like here. I mean, if you think Joanna won more of the beginning of the round than Zhang did the end of the round, then you give the round to Joanna. But I did give the round to Joanna. I gave Joanna the first 3 minutes, and the last 2 minutes were close enough that I couldn't justify the work that she did in the first 60% of the round. So I had Joanna up 3-1 going into the 5th. Championships are won in the 5th. They say if you are a champion and you want to win a title, you have to win the 5th round. That's what Weili Zhang did. This was her best round of the fight. She came out, and I think I don't want to say dominated, because nobody dominated any round in this fight. But she came out, and Joanna was tired. Joanna, she was slowing down a little bit in terms of her output. I think Zhang, she came in, and she was landing heavy punches. She was just going at it, left, right. Did very good work. There in the final 15 seconds, Joanna did catch her with that spinning back fist that landed flush, clean as a brand new butter knife. I don't know. Absolutely great. It didn't even stun her, though. Zhang moved back, and then she pressed forward. I think Zhang won that round. Goes to the decision. Goes to the judges. 49-48, 49-48, 48-49. I'm not mad with it. I think it was a good. I think it was a good fight. You could call that 4th round either way. I thought Joanna won, but I'm not mad with Zhang winning. What did you think of that fight?
I didn't really see much of it. I saw a little bit of the final round, and then I saw just the end result of the very famous face of. I'm gonna say, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, but I can't remember. There was something on Saturday, and I completely forgot about UFC until that fight was almost over, and I hurried, and I logged into my ESPN Plus, as we do. And I caught it, but yeah, I did not see a lot. I just thought, the lady's face was.
It was bad.
Pretty mashed. So
the way it started was in the 3rd. Around that, I thought Joanna won. She threw a front teep kick. Zhang Weili, she caught it and then landed a right straight, flush on the forehead. You could see the massive hematoma. You can find it on Twitter, Google. Started out here, and then you just take another 10 minutes of punishment, and then you have a face that ends up the way that hers ended up. Joanna, she said years ago when she was the champ, it's not modeling, it's MMA. And boy, did she put that little phrase to the test on Saturday. Jesus.
Yeah.
I want to see him run it back, though. It back. I think I'm not mad if people say Joanna won. I'm not mad if people said Zhang won. I know I want to see 25 more minutes of it. If they're going to give us 36 more minutes of Wilder and Fury after that one-sided beatdown, I want to see 25 more minutes of this. So going to the main event, Israel Adesanya defending against Yoel Romero. Jesus, what a fight on the other end of the spectrum. What did you think of that fight?
It was boring.
It was.
Somebody who's not necessarily as into UFC and stuff like that. It was definitely underwhelming.
Good work.
But I was fine with it because, I wanted Adesanya to win. He's my guy. He's the only UFC fighter I've really ever made an effort to go out of my way to watch. So
sure.
He knew what he had to do. I don't know. That did not sound right coming out of my mouth, but he knew what he had to do to win that.
Exactly. No, that's a good point.
He wasn't going to overstep his boundaries, and get too close. I mean, he wasn't going to sit there and step into Romero and let Romero land anything big,
Sure.
and Romero would try here and there. There was a couple instances where I think he went for 3 or 4 takedowns. They didn't count any of them in his favor. They didn't.
Sure. Yeah, it was weird. I think you have Romero come out, and I mean, it was just
Yeah, just
for for
standing the whole time.
for 2.5 minutes to start the fight. They didn't throw a single strike, and it was really weird. It was hard to judge. I really didn't make an effort to judge it just because there was really nothing to go
Yeah,
off of.
I mean, and there was really no. There was a couple big punches here and there, but nothing
Sure.
crazy. And Adesanya, he just came out left kicks right to the right thigh of Romero, and
Yeah,
you could just. I
and that
mean, it
was
was getting progressively worse. And I mean, it wasn't anything fancy, anything crazy, but
no.
it's what he had to
And
do. I mean, you could see that Romero was definitely every time he was getting kicked, he was backing off a little bit. He was kind of,
yeah,
and his knee would buckle, and it was close. And I mean,
and really that right leg of Romero, that was the only trauma in the fight. I think
yeah,
Adesanya, he was looking to counter Romero, and Romero was looking to counter Adesanya. And so when you have two counter punchers or counter strikers, it makes for an awkward looking fight. It reminded me a lot of Anderson Silva and Damian Maia from back in the day, or a more recent fight that people may remember, Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. They were just really unexpected fights. I mean, I saw people on Twitter saying that Romero won that fight. I don't know how you judge it. I mean, I saw one of the judges gave Romero 2 rounds, which, I mean, it's such a difficult fight to score. And with Romero being 42, having lost 3 title fights previously, this was kind of his last chance to win a
hurrah,
world.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And
I think
it's just weird. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
it's if you want the title, you have to go get it. You can't
Yeah,
just sit back and
yeah,
sure, Adesanya didn't necessarily do a lot, but he defended it. He wasn't. I mean, he didn't get his
sure,
ass kicked, and he didn't do anything to deserve losing it because Romero didn't make enough of an effort to take it from
sure.
him. And when it's a title fight like that, you have to give it your all. You're not just gonna
Yeah,
win it by
and
sitting around.
it's not like challengers in these title fights aren't winning on the cards. I mean, people say you have to decisively beat the champion to be the champion. That's not necessarily the case. You can go back to Dominic Cruz winning a split decision against TJ Dillashaw back in 2016. You can go back, even recently, you had Alexander Volkanovski beating Max Holloway in December for the title on the cards. Back in the day, if you want to go boxing, Fury beat Klitschko on the cards. And I mean, it kind of goes back to, you need to win the fifth. And if you're the champion, you do get a little bit more leeway. I mean, John Jones and Dominic Reyes from last month, or yeah, I guess it was last month, February. People thought Reyes had won that fight. John Jones comes out, wins the fifth. He gets the benefit of the doubt. Gets the UD championship win. I just think people, you got to show something out there. Romero didn't show anything.
No.
Adesanya, he didn't show anything, but he really didn't have to. The little bit that he showed, I mean, it wasn't much, but it was more than what Romero showed. And so I think the main event was pretty disappointing. That's kind of the account from all accounts. I think Adesanya's next fight is likely going to be Paulo Costa at 185. I don't see him making the move up to 205 to face Jones yet. Unfortunately, I think that fight comes before the end of the year. I think it's way too early to make that fight. I think Israel is just really small for 205. I think
Yeah.
he's really lanky. He's got an 80.5-inch reach, which is really good for middleweight. But if he goes up to 205, he probably won't even cut weight to make 205. He probably walks around at that weight. John, he's got an 84-inch reach. He cuts down from like 230 to make 205. He's going to be so much bigger than Adesanya.
Yeah.
And, I mean, even though Jones in his last 2 fights has shown that he has looked beatable, I just don't see Adesanya doing it. I mean, I think John, he would piece him up. I think he'd probably finish Adesanya, honestly. And John's had a great record against previously undefeated fighters. I mean, John has ended 4 undefeated careers. And Israel being undefeated, I could see him doing the same to him. I think it's way too early to make that fight. I think if he beats Costa later this summer, that's the fight they're going to make, unfortunately. And I think it's a shame because Adesanya has a chance to be something special. And if he fights John too soon,
Yeah, I
it
agree.
could.
And it's weird for me, like John Jones and Adesanya. Those are my two guys. Those are the only
Sure,
two fighters that I'm I guess fans of. I mean, I was never really into it. It just wasn't necessarily as available as it is now, with
correct.
ES Plus being such a
Yeah.
But so yeah, I didn't really watch a lot, and then the last few years I've gotten a little more into it, and those are my two guys, and I want to see them fight because it'd be kind of like a spectacle at that point. But
Sure.
one guy is going to mutilate the other guy right now, and that wouldn't make it the type of fight you want to see. But
Sure.
who knows? Hopefully it happens in the somewhat distant future and gives Adesanya more of a chance to kind of bulk up and get more prepared for a bigger guy. But I guess time will tell for something like that. But
for sure.
See, switching gears here, if you want to,
let's do it.
Talk a little bit of basketball. So today, as we're recording, it's about 11:30 Eastern time right now. So the ACC, the first full round of their tournament tips off here in about a half hour. I think Miami plays at noon. I can't remember who they're playing, but conference tournaments are starting. I got baseball on one screen and got hoops coming up on the other. We're ready to go.
Yeah. It's that time of the year.
Yeah. We'll do the smaller conferences first. We're not going to do all the small conferences. I'll be honest with you, right? I watch a lot of stuff. I watch a lot of games. I don't sit here and watch
Alstatt
State playing for their semifinal. So I'm not going to talk about all that stuff. And a lot of tickets have already been punched for the tournament, obviously.
Sure.
Last night, Gonzaga knocked off St. Mary's pretty handily to win. I did think St. Mary's and BYU had a chance to knock off the Zags. They've done it in very recent memory, but Gonzaga wins their conference, move on. I'm assuming St. Mary's and BYU still both make the tournament as the, at-large bids. Big upset in I don't even know the conference they're in. San Diego State lost to Utah State over the weekend, I believe.
Yep.
Big upset. Big for the tournament, really, as a whole, because Utah State was one of those bubble teams. If they lose to San Diego State, they're one of those, you're putting their resume up with Indiana, with Xavier, Cincinnati.
Sure.
But they get the automatic bid. That takes one spot away. So one of those teams that I just mentioned, they're not making the tournament.
Also, it almost guarantees that San Diego State won't one seed the West.
Yeah.
Which is big.
Be close. I mean, they might not have a 2 seed at this point, depending on how other tournaments go.
Fair.
So those were the two big ones that have been sealed up so far. Switching over the Atlantic 10 Conference. I don't know about you. I think Dayton's got that one pretty much in the bag.
I think it's a lock. I think they've been a really good team all year. They've been a high-octane, high-energy offense. They've been able to put up a lot of points this year. I have them defeating Davidson, who is 7-seeding that tournament. I think Davidson makes a run. I think they get to the finals, and I think Dayton wins pretty handedly, and I think they get a 1 seed. I think they get a 1 seed in the tournament.
I think they're 1 seed, especially if they win this.
Sure.
They might need help from one of the other top teams going down, whether that, because Baylor's not going to be able to hang in. Either them or Kansas has to lose.
Correct.
Big 12, so that should help. But I think Dayton wins. It's just a matter of how much do they whoop ass.
Correct. No, and they need to put up an impressive performance this week. They got to win impressively to secure their spot as a 1 seed, because the difference between being a 1 and a 2 in this tournament, the brackets, there's a lot of parity this year, but boy, I would not want to be a 2 seed.
Yeah. And I will say, every bubble team in the country right now has to be praying that Dayton pulls it off, because because they're the only team in that conference that's probably making the tournament.
Fair.
I would assume that's pretty much that way. If they lose, and that gives another bid automatic to somebody else, and Dayton's making the tournament as an at-large, you're not going to take a top 5 team out. So if you're a bubble team, you've got to be hoping that first of all, you win your games, at least a couple, and Dayton pulls off theirs. So that's one to definitely keep an eye on. The American Conference.
Who you got?
Ooh. I have Houston taking it. I think they're the 2 seed. I have them knocking off Wichita State in the final as the 4 seed.
Ooh,
But I
okay,
will say there are 5 teams in that conference that I believe have a chance. You've
sure.
got Cincinnati, who's the 1 seed, Houston, Wichita State, UConn, and Memphis. Now, Tulsa's the 3 seed. Not a big fan of Tulsa. But Memphis and UConn have both showed that they can beat top teams. They've at least competed with them.
Sure.
Cincinnati's got they've got a good resume. I think they've got to win their conference. I think to get into the tournament still. Anybody here, I think Wichita State's probably in. Houston's probably in. But I mean, it's another one where
And it's
anybody can
really funny
get.
because Cincinnati is the 1 seed in that conference, and
Yeah,
they might have to win that to get in.
and they're fighting for their life basically.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah,
I
I think I don't know. I just don't know who that's going to go. I'm going to just take Houston off of just a gut feeling.
See, I'm taking Cincinnati over Houston in the finals. I think Cincinnati, they got enough weapons. I think they know they need to win this to secure a spot. It's kind of one of those things you don't want to leave it up to the judges. I think if they don't win, there's a case for them to be out of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's and plus, what if a Dayton doesn't win their conference tournament? What if one of the favorites in the Big Ten doesn't win their tournament? What if somebody goes and makes a 4 or 5 day run and secures a spot? There's a lot more chance for them to be out than in. There's only
Yeah,
one way you guarantee yourself a spot, and that's if you lift a trophy on Saturday. I think that's what Cincinnati does. Give me them winning over Houston on Saturday.
yeah. I'm excited for that tournament.
It's a
The
good
next,
tournament. A lot of sleepers in that. A lot of
yeah,
sleepers.
the Big East, another
Okay.
one, loaded conference.
Very loaded.
I
A
just
lot of teams can make the Elite Eight
yeah,
in this tournament.
which is kind of what we always get from them. You've got Villanova, Seton Hall,
Yep.
Xavier, or not Xavier. So maybe I don't even remember. Seton Hall, Creighton, Butler. I mean,
Yep.
anybody can really do it. In my notes here, I just said it's a deep conference. Anybody can win it except for DePaul. By the way, also DePaul Swallows. Not that all, but we got you. But yeah, I think I'll take Villanova to win that one just because they have the experience. They've got the pedigree. I think they know what it
Correct.
takes to win. They're not necessarily as desperate. I could see them letting a game slip just because they're not kind of tuned in. They might be focusing on
Correct.
just kind of staying healthy.
Who you
But
got to beat them, or who do you got them beating in the finals?
I have them knocking off Seton Hall in these semis and
Okay.
getting to Creighton. I think they knock off Creighton.
Okay.
Creighton's the 1 seed, which is kind of a
Yeah.
surprise, but I don't know. I just like Villanova's depth. I think they've got good coaching staff in place. I think they just know what it takes and they'll be prepared. So
Sure.
them to
I
win.
got Villanova also going over Creighton in the finals. I think Villanova, obviously, they've got championship success under their belt. I think Creighton, this is kind of the first moment any of those players have been on this big stage. They're the 1 seed. They're the favorites. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They got to go out. They got a chance to maybe get a 2 seed out of this. Should they go out and put up an impressive week? They did lose here a couple weekends ago, which might hurt their resume, drop them down to the 3 or 4 line. But depending on what happens ahead of them, a conference tournament really helps out their resume and helps out their argument to maybe getting a 2. And so I think Creighton, they make it to the finals. I think Villanova is just going to be a little too much for them down the stretch. I'm going to take Villanova by 6 or 7 in that game.
yeah. That's another one. It's gonna be a good tournament. I think they tip off tonight as well.
I believe
Uh,
so.
but they might have more breaks between games. I think they get a day off at certain points because they're not as deep. I think they only have
10, I think. I think
10.
it's 10,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's another big factor heading into the tournament because you have a lot of guys playing back-to-back days. Basically, if you want to win your conference tournament, you're playing 5 straight nights.
Mostly four. Mostly four. I think the ACC now is the only conference that has a 5 day. If you're a lower seed,
Big Ten is
most
5 day.
is it? I thought they ended on Saturday.
And no, they end on Sunday, I think, because they
Oh, do
start
they
tonight.
really?
They start tonight with two. It's the 11, 14, and 12, 13.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Because tomorrow is what 5 through 12, and then the quarters are on Friday. So
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. You're right. And so yeah, I mean, depending on if you're not one of the top 4 teams in your conference, you're likely playing 4 days at least.
yeah,
If you're one of the more bottom teams in your tournament, you're going to play 5 straight days. And even if you got a double bye, you're playing 3 straight and 3 nights, and you're not playing against slouches either. You're playing against the best teams in your conference. So,
Yeah.
you gotta bring your A game all week.
Yeah, and every game's going to be close. So you've
True.
got to really bring it for that. Heading over Big 12, Kansas is the 1 seed. I think they're the king of the conference still. I don't think Baylor's really a threat. I'm not impressed by Baylor. Every time I've watched them this year, I've been let down.
Yeah, it's fair.
I am not necessarily I'm not gonna go out of my way and pick them to pull off the conference. There's a few teams in there. I think Texas is very weird. They win some big games, they lose some big games. Iowa State's the same way. I think I'll just pick Kansas and play it pretty simple on that one.
See, myself,
Kansas.
See, I think it's going to be a little different than what you say. I think Baylor does figure it out this week. I think Baylor wins this conference tournament over Kansas in the finals. However, I think they will figure out to not figure it out and be an early first weekend exit in the NCAA tournament.
They are a candidate to lose to like a 15 seed.
Oh yeah. I think, or even if they make it past the first round, I could see them losing handedly to a 7.
Yeah.
I think, they're not a lock to get out of the first weekend, even if they do show impressive gameplay this week. I think they do end up beating Kansas in the finals. I think they win their conference tournament. I think they likely get a 1 seed, but I don't know if they make it out of the first weekend next week. I think they put them on upset alert.
Yep. And this might be biased, but I don't like Baylor because I bet on them twice this year, and they got smacked in both times I picked them. So
should go spread or money line?
Money line.
Ooh,
as like 12-point favorites, and they still lost.
Brutal.
West Virginia's
brutal.
I think West Virginia's in the Big 12, right? They're a sleeper. I think they just beat Baylor last week, so
that would surprise me.
But I don't know, man. Big 12 is just so weird. I don't like Big 12 basketball anymore. It used to be fun, but I don't know. I'm just not crazy about it. Switching now, we've got. I keep saying switching. Sorry, guys. Pac-12, West Coast. We got late games.
Like it.
I have Oregon being the best team out there by a pretty wide margin. I think Peyton Pritchard's the best player in the conference, one of the best players in the country.
Sure.
Colorado and USC both have a chance. They're just weird teams. They put up a fight every game they're in. Arizona's got Nico Mannion. You never know what he can pull off, but I think Oregon has so much talent around the entire roster that they're going to be able to win it pretty handily. Might have a couple close games here and there, but I like them quite a bit.
Yeah, I got Oregon over UCLA in the finals. I think Oregon, like you said, I think they win most games handily. I think, UCLA may give them a little trouble in the finals. I still think they beat UCLA by double digits, but I think they won't pull away till late.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it's close at half. They could even be down 2 at the half, and then 7 minutes left in the game, they kind of go on a little bit of a run and put it away. But I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Pac-12 basketball just because it's so late. But
correct.
I watched Oregon. They went to Michigan and put up a good game there. I think they won that one. I've watched them against Washington. Peyton Pritchard's just so good with the ball, and he's going to score. He's going to dish it out, and in a tournament like this, you need somebody who can lead your offense effectively, and he's kind of the guy that'll do it. So, give me Oregon. Big Ten.
This is the one, ain't it?
Big Ten is the most impressive conference in the country right now. There's realistically 11 teams fighting for a tournament bid.
Sure.
1 through 11 is stacked. Indiana is the 11 seed. Had a down year in the Big Ten. I think it was 8-12 or 9-11. Not a great year in the conference, but they were 19-12 overall. Had a bunch of big upsets. I think they beat like 5 or 6 top 20 teams throughout the season. They got to play Nebraska tonight, which I'll be watching that one. Nebraska got a quarterback now on their roster. Picked up players, but the Big Ten's just loaded. There's so many solid teams, top to bottom, except for Northwestern. Michigan State's catching fire at the right time. Tom Izzo's Mr. March. Maryland still looks pretty strong. Illinois had a very odd year. Iowa's been up and down. They've got Luka Garza. He might be player of the year in the country right now. A lot of people want to lean his direction for that. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna take Michigan State to win it.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
But I mean, Wisconsin's got that pedigree of winning big games. They could be a
True.
Final Four team if they wanted to be. So
If.
it's a good season for the Big Ten. I think all the teams need to win, and it's going to put. I mean, teams 8 through 11 are going to be putting everything they have into a game because it could be their final resume builder. So
Correct.
it'd be definitely exciting to watch. So
I think Maryland wins it. I have Maryland over Illinois in the finals. I think they're going to pull semifinal upsets. I think Illinois beats Wisconsin. I think Maryland beats Michigan State. I think it's going to be a good tournament. I think tonight, even with Indiana playing Nebraska, who says that game doesn't go into overtime?
they went to overtime earlier.
I think Nebraska, even though they are a garbage fire of a team, even though they are trash bags in comparison to the rest of that conference, Indiana hasn't really been super impressive this year either.
No.
Indiana, they have shown a penance. They have shown exemplary talent at blowing games late, not making clutch shots,
Scoring
turning the ball over.
Yeah,
I mean, just Indiana. They are the 11. I think they have tonight's must win.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If they lose tonight, they can almost bank on being a 2 seed in the NIT.
Maybe.
Maybe. And even if they win tonight, it's not a guarantee. I think that they need to make a run this week. They need to show a little something. And if not, they won't be in the dance come next weekend.
I will say, as an Indiana fan, they got a very favorable draw. Being an 11 seed sucks, but
true.
They can beat Nebraska. Nebraska took them to overtime at Assembly Hall, which, if you know IU basketball, if you're at Assembly Hall, you're winning probably. If you're not at Assembly Hall, you're probably getting beat by 30. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they play in Indianapolis.
Sure.
But if they beat Nebraska tonight, they will play Penn State tomorrow night. They beat Penn State. They split it with them this year, beat Penn State in the second go-around. When they traveled to Penn State earlier in the year, they lost by like 20-something points. Same thing with Maryland. Maryland came to Bloomington, I believe, in January.
Yeah.
Beat the Hoosiers by 1. Indiana missed a last-second shot. Indiana went to Maryland earlier in the year and got blown out. So they've shown that they can compete with these teams, but they can also get just run off the floor. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. But I don't know. Big Ten's going to be a fun one. It's probably going to be the tournament to watch. So many teams fighting for their lives. So
for sure,
I'll be definitely tuned into that. Moving over, we've got the SEC. Kentucky.
This one's, I was about to say, this one's kind of easy, ain't it? Yeah, or at least Kentucky's it should be.
Not really threatened by anybody right now.
No.
Auburn looked tough to start the year, but they fell off. LSU's got Trendon Watford and a couple other guys. Not super impressive resume-wise. Florida as the 5 seed is probably the best threat to Kentucky right now. Florida's got a deep roster. They had one of the best rosters coming into the season. A lot of people were high on them, had them as a top 10 team, but then they just didn't perform. But I do like what they've got. They could put a little bit of a fight up again. I could be in the semifinals with them. So I don't know. I just think Kentucky's far and away the best team out there. So
I think so too. Kentucky showed difficulty winning games early in the year. I mean, they lost to Evansville at home. You know how bad you have to be to lose to Evansville at home? They didn't win a single conference game this year. And they lost to them at home. But Kentucky, I think they figured it out. I think once they beat Louisville in late December, that's kind of when they started turning it around. They kind of shown since then they can play with the best teams in the country. I don't think anybody in the SEC has a chance to really make a run in the NCAA tournament, and I think Kentucky's going to show that this week. I think Kentucky is going to beat down most of these teams. I think they're going to win by 15 points up until the finals. They probably face maybe like LSU in the finals, and I still think it's going to be one-sided. I think Kentucky, they're a very good team. They've got a lot of NBA talent on their roster. They've got probably a couple, maybe several first-round picks, as they always do.
Right.
And so I just think, they got a real chance to not only win this week, but make a run as they always do. They always find a way to make an Elite Eight, compete for a Final Four. John Calipari, as much as I don't like the guy, you got to respect what he's done down there in
I'm with
Lexington.
you. Come to Bloomington, coward.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think they're gonna win this week. They might get a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. They've been impressive throughout the year. They're gonna solidify and fortify their resume this week. Expect Kentucky to win big.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think Ashton Hagans has put it together the last few weeks, so I would expect him to keep that rolling into the tournament.
Correct.
But yeah, the SEC, again, high expectations in the year, and then they came out kind of flat. So, underwhelming season. That leaves us with the one that tips off here in 5 minutes. The ACC.
Yes, sir.
They tipped off technically last night, but nobody cares about the 12-13 Wake Forest Pitt game. But yeah, they began last night. They are a mess at the top of that conference.
They are.
It's
Florida State seeding that tournament.
Yeah, and Duke is what, the 4 seed?
2. They're the 2.
Damn, I'm all over. I'm telling you, this conference has me all over the place. Miami.
No. I think you're right. I think Duke is the 4.
So I think Virginia's the 2, and Virginia had a bad year.
Virginia's the 2. Louisville's the 3.
Yeah, so Duke is the 4. So it'll be Duke, Florida State in the semis if we get there.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, Virginia was a surprise too for me because every time I checked the score this year, I didn't check them a lot, obviously, but I would check. Purdue beat Virginia by like 35. Virginia just did not look great at all. Anytime I saw them, they were winning by putting up 50-something points a game. Wish Indiana could do that, but no, they suck. But it's just Virginia was not the team we've been accustomed to seeing lately. Obviously they lost to UMBC a couple years ago, but
good game, by the way. It was a good game.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that one's a huge toss-up. I think it can be really anybody at the top can pull it off. I'm going to take Louisville just because going out on a whim. I don't trust Duke. Never trust Duke in March. They're either going to get to the Final Four, or they're going to lose opening weekend.
It's true.
I'll give them that same kind of benefit here for the conference. It's just, I don't know. I just don't like what the ACC has. Florida State could be good, but I'm not super impressed by them either. They just had Notre Dame take them to the wire, and Notre Dame not that great.
Yeah, no, they're not. They're not great at all. I have Louisville beating Duke in the finals. I'm kind of biased. I'm a Louisville fan, but I think Louisville they're one of the better teams in that conference, and there's so much volatility at the top. It's really hard to predict because Louisville's beat good teams. They've lost to bad teams. And I think this week they could be out on, what is it? They play tomorrow? They play tomorrow?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, they could lose tomorrow to whoever they draw in the 9 o'clock game, or they could win the tournament on Saturday night. I think, Virginia, I kind of agree with you. They're really up and down. They've got a chance to.
They're either going to lose or they're going to win ugly.
Yeah,
that's just a tough recipe to win with.
And there's a lot of star players in that conference. Jordan Nwora from Louisville might be the player of the year in that conference, really. And I don't know. I like Chris Mack. I think he done great things at Xavier. He always found a way to do good in conference tournament weekend. Never really experienced that much NCAA tournament success, but I think at Louisville he's going to get a little bit more of a favorable draw. They've got a chance to. I think they're on the 4 line right now, as a matter of fact, but they would be in Gonzaga's bracket in the West, which would be a very favorable bracket for them at the moment. If they win their conference tournament this weekend, it could bump them up to the 3 line. I don't think they have a shot at the 2. They definitely don't have a shot at the 1 line, just because they've lost to just so many bad teams. And they underperformed in some aspects of the year. I think Louisville figures it out this week. I think they have a chance to be a Final Four team. I don't really see them getting to a natty this year. I could see them, especially if they draw the 4 with Gonzaga being the 1, I could see them making a run to the Final Four. I just think once they start playing your Kansases and they start playing Even if they play Gonzaga, it's going to be difficult. But even if they play at Dayton, I think Dayton would show up and they would take Louisville. They would take Louisville's lunch money. I think Louisville they need a good bracket. They need a good draw, and if they lose tomorrow night, if they're anything lower than the 4 line, boy, look out! It's going to be a rough one for Louisville.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This has probably been the craziest year in college basketball that I can remember up until this point. Obviously, we had
Sure.
that stretch where it was 8 seeds taking it to the championship every year, but
Sure.
at least the Final Four. But it's just been anybody can win on any night, as we've seen. I mean, Evansville beat Kentucky. We've had Duke lost to, I believe, Wake Forest not too long ago.
Yeah, and Duke lost to some real bad team at the beginning of the year.
Was it Abilene Christian?
I don't know.
Or Stephen F. Austin. Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's just been a weird year. I mean, let's see. There's been so many bad upsets. It's hard to even keep track. I think Utah almost beat Kentucky. I don't know if they pulled it off or not, but they took them at least to the last few seconds.
And I don't think it's over yet. I think come next weekend, you always have a 5-12 upset. Some years you get a 13-4 upset. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 15-2 upset, to be honest. I mean, I think this is the year where you see maybe somebody lower than a 4 make the Final Four. You might have someone lower than a 4 winning a natty with the way the year's gone. I mean, there's really no elite teams in the NCAA. I mean, years ago when Kentucky was going undefeated, they were clear favorites. Like last year with Duke, even though they did not make the Final Four, they were clear favorites. I mean, there have been elite teams in previous years. Nobody has that feel this year. Everybody feels like they could go the distance or they could lose early.
Yeah. I mean, you could see a team like Seton Hall get the 5 seed, 6 seed in their bracket, and they could put up a fight on anybody.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, I don't know I don't know of anybody who is by far the number 1 team in the country, which is good. It's good for parity. I mean, Kansas could get the 1 seed, but they're not unbeatable. Gonzaga, they played a tough stretch to start the season. They lost to some teams. I think they had like 4 or 5 games to start the year against ranked opponents.
And keep in mind, Gonzaga is one of those teams that always finds a way to get a high seed in the tournament, but never finds a way to have any kind of real success. They always find a way to lose on that second weekend.
Yeah.
And I could see that happening again this year. I don't know what it would take for them to finally get over that hump, but they've had good teams, even going back to the Morrison days, when we were kids, and they've found a way to kind of keep their name in the conversation, but boy, they need something.
It's so impressive in a way. Like
it is.
For almost 2 decades, you've been an almost great team.
Correct. But you've never really gotten over that hurdle, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's hard to attract a big name recruit there because Gonzaga's philosophy is freshmen aren't going to play a lot, and a lot of guys want to go to the league from the freshman year. So,
but they always have seniors that produce.
Yeah, you have to buy in. You're going to be a junior or a senior on the starting lineup, and you're going to make an impact. But if you're a freshman and you're not, it's going to be tough to get that exposure, and especially playing West Coast, it's tough.
I mean, even back in the day when Butler made back-to-back championship games, I mean, they had great teams, but they also had Brad Stevens. They also had Gordon Hayward. I mean, you had great players and coaches on those teams. What was it? The Shaka Smart team. Who was that?
Wichita State? VCU.
No, VCU, yeah. VCU, I mean, they went to the Final Four 1 year. That was the year Butler made the Final Four, went to the Natty.
That was a weird year, yeah.
That was. I mean, there's been so many years where, like Kentucky made the championship game and Connecticut ended up winning it as an 8 seed. Yeah. I mean,
they beat Kentucky in the championship, right?
Yeah, and that was the year Kentucky knocked off Wichita State, who was undefeated at that point.
Yeah.
And Wichita was the number 1 overall seed. Kentucky came out, beat them in the second round. And I think, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that happen again this year. Something to keep in mind, though, with all the coronavirus scares that are going on across the country right now. does the tournament get played? Do they play the tournament in empty arenas? Do they move tournament sites to locations that aren't under these large crowd bans? I
Yeah.
think if you get someone like Gonzaga, who is the 1 seed of the West Coast, and say their first round game is in like Washington, for instance. I know there's a site up there, but I forget what it is. But say they play up in Washington that first weekend, or what if they have to move that game to Texas? What
Yeah.
if they move the entire West out to the Southeast? Well, now all of a sudden, Gonzaga, who have made plans on attending these West Coast sites, maybe have already bought tickets to attend the championship game or the Elite Eight games in Los Angeles. Now all of a sudden you have to go to Atlanta. You know what I mean? The support out there might be different because now you might have someone like Louisville, who is several hundred miles closer.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden maybe they got home field.
Yeah.
So depending on what happens, I think that West bracket could be very interesting.
Yeah, and it sucks for the players. Like, I understand the concern. I don't know. I think it's kind of overblown, but if you're
Sure.
taking the tournament, right, and you're playing it in an empty stadium, that takes away, one, the atmosphere and the thrill, right? If you win the national championship and it's in an empty arena,
Yeah.
it's just not the same. The players don't get that experience that they want, and
Sure.
it's just a small thing, but
Imagine Villanova with that championship buzzer beater happening in front
in
of
a
an
dead
empty arena.
stadium. It's like, cool.
It's like you can hear your teammates talking about quesadillas on the sideline as
Yeah,
you're dribbling up the court.
just
You
shoes
know,
squeaking the whole time. Like, it was.
yeah. Now, granted, TV ratings would probably be crazy for
That
those
is
games,
true.
but I mean, I
It
just
was
think.
weird. Like, there was they were talking about, they shouldn't shake hands before the game, and
Excuse me.
they're playing a full contact sport.
Yeah.
You're gonna touch somebody. You can't just say,
Yeah.
we're not gonna shake hands before and after the game when you're
Yeah.
out there colliding with guys, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's
You're
very,
sweating, body fluids going
yeah, it's
everywhere.
very weird, but I don't
And
know.
I think there's obviously talk. San Jose just put a ban on crowds of over 1,000. That affects the Sharks, who got a chance to maybe make the playoffs this year. I think I haven't checked. I haven't kept up with the Pacific much this year, but if they got a chance to make the playoffs, they're playing Stanley Cup playoff games and basically an empty arena.
Yeah.
You got teams in Washington. The Mariners play opening day at home here in 2.5 weeks. If this band goes up into them, you're either moving Mariner games, they're playing either all away games, or their home stadium is going to be like the Indianapolis Indians Stadium or something like that. You know what I mean? So depending on what happens with this coronavirus scare, I think it could be bad. You could have major events being canceled, from the
Yeah.
NCAA tournament to the Stanley Cup playoffs. NBA games might be taking place in empty arenas. Even stuff like WrestleMania and things where you have 100,000 people. It's a good thing the Super Bowl's already happened,
Yeah.
because you try to get 80,000 on the West Coast right now, as it should be next year, because I believe they're playing the Super Bowl next year in is it San Francisco they're playing it next year?
I honestly can't remember.
Or is it LA, the new stadium out
Might
there?
be New LA, yeah.
So imagine this happens a year from now. They're not going to put 70,000 out there with all this stuff going on in
No.
California on the West Coast. So I just think this could be a really awkward year for many major sports and attractions. I think
Yeah.
the NCAA tournament, this falls at a really bad time. I think the NBA playoffs, if they start playing the NBA playoffs in front of empty arenas, dude, they might just cancel the whole playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, we're both from Indiana, right? IU just announced that they're going to have virtual classes for 2 weeks after spring break.
Yeah.
Who's to say that doesn't extend to Purdue? Who says that doesn't
It
extend
already
down to
has.
US? Oh, it hasn't.
I
did
think
not know
Purdue is
that.
the same way. I think IUPUI is the same way. So
Really? See,
yeah.
now U of E down here in Evansville, USI in Evansville, I haven't heard anything about that. But say, you have all these major schools that are doing these, are basically canceling classes and doing it online. Boy, that's going to affect everything.
Yeah, we
I
already
think,
saw the Ivy League canceled their conference tournament.
Correct. Yes, that
And
is
Harvard
very
had a
good
chance, I
point.
believe, to upset Yale and get the tournament, and they just gave Yale the tournament bid. And Harvard players are saying, we know the risk of playing. We know what can happen. We want the chance to play. It's not fair to us. And
It's not. It's not.
I get the concern, but I think it's a little bit overblown. I think if the players want to play, they understand the risk, and it's not necessarily as vital as we're making it out to be. And it's just kind of it sucks, and it's not great to see that for
Now
any
let's
big event. So
now let's say you have the option to play these games in empty arenas, empty crowds, or not play them at all. I mean, which one do you want to do? I mean, you're either getting a very subpar experience, as in playing in front of a dead crowd. I mean, you're basically putting ghosts in the crowd as your spectators, or you just don't play them at all. And then really everybody can be upset. Like I don't know, man. I think
play it empty. At least give yourself a chance.
yeah. I mean,
You
I
can't
just think I don't know, man. I think this goes a little bit further than what it has already been right now. I think if more cases start to pop up around the country, you might see the national title game either be canceled outright or played in front of an empty arena, and that's a shame. That
Yeah.
is a shame.
But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. I want to challenge you to something though.
All right,
Well, not really a challenge. Present this
sure.
to you. Next
All right.
week. So Selection Sunday is Sunday night, right? 6 o'clock
Yep.
or so, right after
Yep.
the conference championships wrap up. We'll be getting back Saturday night, Sunday morning from the weekend. Got a little
Yeah.
trip going. All right. Next week on the show, we reveal our brackets.
Okay. Let's do it. I'm
Want
with
that
it.
whole
I'm with it.
tournament? Pick every game. We obviously you can do it beforehand and pick it, or just read it off on the show. But
Correct.
have another. Sorry for all you guys who don't care about basketball. We'll have another show dedicated to the tournament.
Sure.
Put our statements down on, I guess not on paper because it'd be out in video, but we'll just keep it interesting and see what happens with that.
And how about this for everybody else that wants to play along at home? Why don't we either on ESPN or CBS or any other of these sharing spots? Why don't we do a group? Why don't we do a group for us and our listeners to be able to see who could beat us and to see who's the better man between us?
Yep, we will. I'll make a pool for everybody. I'll link it in next week's episode. We'll both share it on Twitter and Facebook. Get a big pool. We could try to figure out some sort of prize for it. Whatever you guys want. Leave comments in this on this video and this prize you guys want. We'll try to make it happen.
Let's do it.
Try to get something going for you guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. So we'll try to
very much so.
Make this worth your while. Really excited for the tournament still, despite what might be going on with it. Hopefully we get to see you next weekend or this weekend, a couple days away.
I know. We'll see how that Norco hit. I'm hoping it hits nice because I'm trying to make it up. I've got it on the calendar. I'm just hoping that I'm not just deadbeat miserable come Saturday morning. So,
but
got to see the boys.
Yes, sir.
It's that time of the year.
Do you have anything else for this week that you want to talk about? I know it was kind of a slow week across the rest of sports.
I mean, not really. I think with baseball's coming up here, I'm debating on whether I want to do fantasy baseball. Yeah. Hockey, we're getting down to the last month of the year, 1 month away from the playoffs starting up, which I'm very excited about this year. NBA, Knicks are still trash. Knicks are still bad. That's not going to change anytime soon.
They did beat the Rockets last week, much to our chagrin. So,
yeah, I kind of said the Rockets were going to beat them pretty bad, and then they go out and lose outright. So that was humbling, to say the very least.
We do.
Go ahead.
We have NFL free agency starts next week, so that
is exciting. That is exciting. Unfortunately, it falls during a bad time of the year where the NCAA tournament's going to kind of take precedent. One other thing that I want to mention, maybe you don't want to mention it. If you don't, that's fine. Our former alma mater, Wabash College, Our college president resigned yesterday, President Gregory Hess. He was the president throughout all 4 years of our college experience. He did several things for the college in terms of raising money, several decisions that he made. Some liked, some more disliked. Didn't really affect us, per se.
Yeah.
I got my sheep skin. I'll let you guys Google that if you want. But he's leaving at the end of the year. We have an acting president, Scott Feller. I want to say congratulations and thank you to President Hess for his time at Wabash and making my experience and the other graduates under his time, making the experience what it was.
Yep. I mean, you said it. I don't have much really to add. I didn't really know the guy very well. I don't know if you guys know this, but I wasn't very out there in college. I was very sit in my room and get my shit done, so I didn't really have that sort of experience. But I mean, yeah, it's just news, and I guess we'll see what happens moving forward. And there's a lot of stuff, a lot of rumors about Wabash heading out, so we'll see what happens. Just got to get the bell back.
That's true. True.
But, yeah, we'll see what Feller has in store for us, and maybe they'll change Wabash a little bit.
I was about to say, I'm putting my name in the ring. If Wabash needs a new president, you got my number. You got my number.
I will send them a
letter of rec.
By word, yeah. I'll send them.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's start it up. Keanan for president. Let's go.
But yeah, whatever. End of the week, almost. It's only Wednesday, but we're close enough to being there.
We'll be back on Monday next week. Hopefully schedules. Hopefully schedules get back.
We gotta get back Monday, dude. We got
to make predictions.
Tournament
starts I get it.
Tuesday night, I believe. So
so we gotta get back on Monday. Hopefully we will. We'll post that group for you guys. You guys can follow us on Twitter. Mine is at Keanan Alstatt. Luke's is at Luke Parrish _NFL. Be sure to tweet us your predictions. Be sure to tweet us your comments, thoughts on the show. If you want to make fun of me from whatever my allergies were at the beginning of the show, feel free to do so. And hopefully next week we won't have to deal with that. So
yeah, if you've got a hot take that you're afraid to share, hit my DMs. I'll anonymously respond to it. It's all good. I've got you.
Yeah, but if it's too hot, you're getting blasted.
I won't necessarily. I'll keep it anonymous, but I might roast it on the timeline a little bit. But
for sure,
my DMs are always open. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, let me know. We'll take any advice we can get. If you've got something you want to talk about, if you've got concerns or kind of stuff you want us to do with the podcast moving forward, maybe
for sure,
like we're doing at the tournament. If you want to pitch an idea, let us know. We're always open to listening. We're like 7 episodes deep now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting better. We'll see.
Yeah, we're hitting our stride.
Yeah, so the next few months for me are going to be a coolest part of it. We got draft coming up. We've got March Madness. Baseball's getting underway. I gotta say, Luke, if you're listening, not me, the other Luke, you got figured out. Your wedding, man. Astros Yankees that weekend.
I know
about it, but we'll work around it. It's all good. I understand it. Congratulations on the whole wedding thing.
Very much so. Congratulations.
We will see you this weekend and have a good old time, hopefully. So
yeah, very much so.
We're excited. It'll be a good week. And then hopefully next week we can come back and talk more basketball. Who knows? I mean,
I like it.
They could be completely wrong, and we could just look like idiots, and we could have Wichita State could blow out everybody. Kansas could choke in their first conference game. You never know what'll happen. So hopefully we'll come back to you guys next week with positive reports. But yeah, just stay tuned, stay active on social media, be on the lookout for us, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right. Remember, guys, life's too short to bet the under.
Absolutely.
Keep that in mind this week and throughout the conference tournament. All right?
Sir.
All right, guys.
Thanks
Enjoy your week.
We will see you later.